Allah does not charge a soul except with that within its capacity.
I want you to relax, chill, open your mind, open your heart to the idea of success. Ask yourself, what is real success? Who would I be if I were successful? And what would I have if I were successful? Ask yourself, do I know any successful people? What is the meaning of success? How do we measure success? Who and what are our role models for success? I asked myself those questions, and I asked others I came in contact with throughout my life. And I arrived at the same general conclusions as most people. Conclusions produced by education, social exposure, the impact of media, and then by my own personal aspirations and impressions about life. For instance, when I read the definition of success in the Oxford University Press, when I considered that, I want to share that with you. This is what the Oxford University Press, this is what they say that success means. Success is the accomplishment of aims and purposes. Success is the attainment of fame, wealth, and social status. Now that's what Oxford University Press, that's what they say that success is. Now I want to ask all of you here, because I want to make sure that all of us are in sync. Are all of you seeking happiness and success in life? Can I get a show of hands that everybody who would like to have happiness and success in life? Nearly everybody wants happiness and success. Some people not so sure. Would you like to have tranquility, self-contentment, confidence, peace, security? Would you like to have that? If so, welcome to the club. Everyone in the world, in one way or the other, when they're asked about success or happiness, this is what they say, this is what they want. This is what we've been striving for all of our lives, kicking and scraping and hoping and wishing and fighting and cheating and lying and stealing and conniving and everything that we're trying to do, somehow or another, we're relating it to, inevitably, success. Believers and disbelievers, the righteous and the evildoers, every single one of them is after happiness and success. Even when you ask someone down the street or up the street, getting high, as they call it, If you ask them why they're taking drugs, why they're drinking, why they're fornicating, committing adultery, if you ask them why, inevitably they're going to tell you, it makes me feel good, at least for a moment. It doesn't matter what the final results are, just so long as somehow or another there's a click in our minds that it somehow relates to even temporary happiness or success. Unfortunately, most people take the wrong path towards happiness and success. Although everyone is after happiness, the masses of people, like animals, take the wrong path. And it is only a handful of people that take the time to think and to reflect and to seek inspiration to determine the correct path towards happiness. Now, I was always led to believe that if I had a good education, that would guarantee a good job and subsequently good status in society. That's what I was told. This led me to conclude that those persons with the highest levels of education, such as doctors, lawyers, architects, etc., they must prospectively be the most successful people in life. Then I realized that in fact these persons whom I would consider to be the most successful people in life, the doctors, the lawyers, the architects, the film stars, the athletes, the musicians, the gangsters, and the criminals. As a matter of fact, I realized that these people, possessed with education or not, these people holding the acquisition of things in their hands, all the toys of life, these people holding in their hands the influence of the masses of people all over the world, these people having the highest standard of worldly attainment. Of course, to most of us, this itself should somewhat signify a semblance of success. But let us see to what extent. In fact, statistics indicate that the greatest number of suicides, divorces, personal tragedy exists among the rich and the famous. In spite of their perceived status, they are lonely, most of them, and they die lonely, most of them. They are frustrated, most of them, and they die frustrated. Most of them are addicted to drugs, alcohol, and other things. Most of them are experiencing many psychological disorders, unable to retain simple relationships, hardly knowing who their real friends are, and usually dying pathetic and alone. Now, these are what you and I would, and most people would consider to be the most successful human beings in the world. Let me share with you a statistic from the World Health Organization. Did you know that suicide is among the 3 leading causes of death in the Western developed world? I said the Western developed world, where the semblance and the trappings of success are the most preeminent. The World Health Organization estimated that in the year 2000, approximately 1 million people, that is, in the Western Hemisphere, would have died from suicide. That means 16 people out of every 1,000 people choose to take their own lives, while it would appear that they are living among a civilization that has the highest standard of living. So why are 16 out of 1,000 people taking their own lives, feeling to themselves, meeting a point in their lives where they cannot see any value in living? That's tragic. That's pathetic. That's a profound statistic. This means 16 people out of 100,000. That means there is 1 death every 40 seconds. Every 40 seconds, a person in the Western Hemisphere is cutting their throat, jumping off a bridge, taking some pills, cutting their wrists, blowing their brains out, or doing something else to end their life. And these are the most educated people in the world. The World Health Organization further states that in the last 45 years, suicide rates have increased 60% worldwide. That means the more sophisticated and the more educated that we become, the more inclined we are to take our lives or to take someone else's. Now, one may think, or one would think to themselves, that when we consider the poverty, the disease, the social destabilization in the so-called undeveloped countries, we would think that those people in those countries would be committing suicide, but that is not the case. Those people seem to be able to deal with their situations, but they're not educated and they're not sophisticated. As a matter of fact, in the poverty-stricken countries that have the lowest living standard, statistics actually reveal that they have the lowest rate of suicide. As a matter of fact, in the countries where people are considered to be heathens, terrorists, fanatics, extremists, inhuman, the only suicide that is done in those countries is people who call themselves, or who are called, suicide bombers. And then we find out that they themselves didn't call themselves suicide bombers, they called themselves martyrs. As a matter of fact, in the Muslim world in particular, and I'm proud of this statistic, the rate of suicide in the Muslim countries is less than 0.5% out of 100,000. Because for most Muslims, and I would almost venture to say almost every Muslim, suicide is never, ever an option. Because from the very beginning, we understand that life doesn't belong to us. And we understand that success is not in the things that you possess or what other people think of you, But success is in gratitude. Success is in acknowledgement. Success is in the contentment of knowing who you are, why you're here, and what your purpose in life is. And if a person begins by having this acknowledgement, and throughout their life they are cultivating this acknowledgement, then they're never inclined towards despair, and they're never inclined towards suicide. I ask you, brothers and sisters here, do the things that people acquire give them satisfaction and peace of mind? Does the influence over people grant them contentment and fulfillment? The answer is emphatically no. Kings, queens, rulers, and heads of states all have possessions. All of them have power over their subjects and their citizens, but they do not lead lives of contentment, satisfaction, peace of mind, and fulfillment. On the contrary, their lives are a combination of daily stress, struggle to maintain their status, preoccupation and anticipation of war inside their countries or outside their countries, paranoia and anxiety over their competitors and their opponents. Hardly any one of them throughout history, hardly any one of the kings, the queens, the rulers, the heads of states, hardly any one of them throughout history has left a legacy or a conduct as a role model and a human evidence of success. We only have to turn to the lives of the rich and famous in the past, in the present, and see that they do not give us an inspiration towards success. I ask you, why is it that things and status do not grant us success or satisfaction as the Oxford University Press seems to give the definition of?